Hello everyone, today I'm going to give a short crash course on the orchestra. So what is an orchestra, right? So often you go to concert halls, right? Those big concert halls, you see a lot of people performing on the stage. You have different instruments like violins, flutes, you have different drums. So that is what we call an orchestra, an ensemble with different instruments of people playing together. So brief introduction to the orchestra. There are 4 different families in the orchestra. The strings, the woodwinds, the brasses, and the percussion. Okay, so strings comprises of the violin, viola, cello, and double bass from high to low. So violin being the smallest and double bass being the biggest and therefore the lowest. So strings are very good for playing any kinds of passage because they're very flexible. You can play very loud and very soft. And they are especially good for playing very legato and smooth phrases. So one example I'm going to show you is from a piece called The Moldau by Czech composer Smetana. This piece talks about a river, right? So a river is like very big and very vast. So using the string, a very smooth and legato melody, he brings out the image of the river. And next we have woodwinds. So for woodwinds, we have also 4 instruments. From high to low is flute, oboe, clarinet, and bassoon. Okay, so woodwinds, they are very good for playing very fast and very playful passages. So, and I'm going to play for you an example from something that's maybe a bit more familiar to us from Harry Potter. This is a theme from Nimbus 2000. Basically, every time you see Harry Potter like fly, you hear this music, right? So it's very playful and it's very short notes and very staccato. So woodwinds are very good for this. Okay, next we have the brass. Brasses, they can play very loud. And okay, so here we have the trumpet, the horn, the trombone, and the tuba, also 4 instruments. And then brasses, they're also similar to woodwinds in the sense that we like blow the instruments, right? But brasses, they blow with their lips, like vibrating, so they have to vibrate their lips to play. So and because of that, right, they can play very loud. And usually you hear the brasses in like fanfares or like marches, right? And they are very commonly used with the last family of the orchestra, which is the percussion, right? So percussion basically is anything that you can hit, like drums or xylophones or bells. So those are percussion. And percussion, when you use it with the brass, it's actually very effective because they are both very loud. And in this following piece by Aaron Copland, an American composer, it's called Fanfare for the Common Man. You hear that the brass and the percussion hear a timpani. So timpani is a kind of drum. So they are playing together and it's a very loud fanfare, right? Very grand. Okay, so why do we need to know about the orchestra? As pianists, right, we might be wondering, okay, is there like piano in the orchestra? Usually there's no piano. And you might be wondering like, okay, so why do we need to know about the orchestra if like we play the piano, right? Well, because a lot of composers who wrote for the piano, they actually wrote for the orchestra a lot. And when they write for the piano, they'll actually think about the orchestra, the different orchestral sounds, how different parts of the piano music can be translated into the orchestral sounds. So they might be thinking, okay, this piece, like this part, right, this section is like the woodwinds, right? So I want a very soft and very quick passages. And maybe this part very loud, right? Very loud chords. So it's more like brass sounds. So when we play piano, we can also think about these different kind of sounds and how we can imagine different sounds to increase the the variety of our playing. So I'm going to demonstrate by playing one of Schubert's pieces. So Franz Schubert, he wrote a piece called Minuet and Trio, and this is actually taken from the ABRSM Grade 4 A3 piece. So Minuet and Trio, in this piece, I'll demonstrate how we can imagine different orchestral sounds and how to use it in our playing. So the Minuet and Trio was actually originally a form that was written for the orchestra. And there are two sections, the minuet and the trio. So in the minuet section, it tends to be everyone plays together, and the string dominates the entire orchestra because it tends to be the loudest. And then in the trio section, the woodwinds take over and the strings stop playing. So this section tends to be a little bit more playful and softer. So the contrast between minuet and trio sections, we can bring it out through the dynamics and the instrumentation. So we can imagine different instruments when we play the piece. So the beginning is strings, so it's very loud and a very strong sound. Okay, and the second section is a trill. So the trill is more playful and much softer, right? So we can imagine the woodwinds. The woodwinds playing little fast passages of semiquavers. So very playful and very agile. So very different from the first section, right? So let's try to bring it out here. Here is just at a flute, right? Just semiquavers, just very agile and very graceful. And then here, right, it sounds like the bassoon, lower woodwinds. And then we're going back to the beginning, right? Because DC are fine. So we're going back to strings, a strong sound again. Alright, so that's it for today's short crash course on the orchestra. And I'll be doing more online classes about the orchestra in the coming weeks. So do keep an eye out for that. And I'll go into more details about different instruments and how we can use them or how we can identify them, and also be doing other interesting topics, so stay tuned for more exciting topics. Alright, so and I'll see you soon.